Welcome back to the Dynasty Nerds YouTube channel. Marvin Elequin here with the second video of our Dynasty Rankings versus ADP series. And for this one, we'll shift our focus to the running back position. I have 3 running backs for you guys that I have ranked higher than consensus Dynasty ADP. Let's dive in. So to kick things off, we will start here with Antonio Gibson, Washington running back, currently being drafted as the RB17. And in my rankings, I have him as my RB12. Heading into the season, we knew that Gibson would have the workload to prove that he could be the guy for this team going forward. That's exactly what we saw. He was the RB18 in total opportunities in only 14 games, the RB25 in targets with 44, even with McKissick there, and was the RB7 in dominator rating, accounting for 28% of this team's offensive production. And with all that, he was also very efficient, one of the more efficient running backs in the league, RB15 in yards created per touch. Essentially, what that is the yards created above what the offensive line has blocked for the running back. So very good to see that young running back like Gibson is not just relying on his O-line to produce. And he was also the RB8 in evaded tackles per touch at a 28.2% rate. And from a receiving standpoint, he was the RB9 in yards per route run with 1.52. You love to see that from a running back, receiving the vote of confidence from his team, receiving the workload, and then taking that and producing at a very efficient rate. And to put his rookie production into context here really quick, since 2000, we've only seen 17 rookie running backs total a minimum of 1,000 scrimmage yards, 10 touchdowns, and 30 receptions. Of those 17 running backs, 65% of them have had multiple RB1 seasons in their career. And this is a list that includes guys like Zeke, LaDainian Tomlinson, Matt Forte, several productive fantasy running backs who were productive in their rookie year and went on to do so for several years after that. And now after this 2020 season, you have rookie running backs like Jonathan Taylor, James Robinson, and Antonio Gibson joining that elite group. The best part about Antonio Gibson's situation, why I like him so much for Dynasty, is because this team is also trying to build a playoff contender. They're continuously trying to improve this team with the new culture, with Ron Rivera as the coach. They were in the market for Matt Stafford, so we know they're trying to improve their quarterback play. They could be in the market for Deshaun Watson or a rookie quarterback in this talented draft class. And we know they already have their stud wide receiver in Terry McLaurin, but they could also add another wide receiver to this offense, either through free agency or this draft class as well, that's very talented at the wide receiver position. And with all of that, that could just open up this offense and provide Antonio Gibson with more opportunities, help his efficiency out. And that's really why I think RB17 may be slightly underselling the upside of this offense and team and Gibson's talent, because if you combine his early production with his age, the upside of this improving team, Gibson, in my opinion, should really be considered a Dynasty RB1 for the next couple of years. The next running back on my list here is New England Patriots running back Damien Harris, who I know we are all very apprehensive of because he is a New England Patriots running back. We know that Bill Belichick can be very inconsistent with his running back usage, and that's exactly why I don't have him ranked as a Dynasty RB1 or even RB2. He's currently going as the RB36 in Dynasty ADP. I just have him a few spots higher at RB30. And while there's a lot to like about his 2021 season, let's take a look at 2020 really quick and what he did there. He received 144 opportunities, and with that, he was the RB9 in yards created per touch at 1.7, RB16 in breakaway run rate at a 5.1% rate. He was also the RB8 in evaded tackles per touch at a 28.2% rate. And what's more impressive is that he did all of this while seeing 7.4 average defenders in the box. That's good for RB1. And he essentially saw a stacked front on 42.3% of his carries. When he was on the field, when Harris was on the field, defenses were trying to stop the run, yet he still produced, had some productive games, operating as the lead running back for that team. Now let's take a look at 2021, what we can expect from him. There's a lot to like, in my opinion. First of all, you have James White, you have Rex Burkhead approaching free agency. That's 197 opportunities that could be available for the running back position on this team. a couple carries, a couple targets, that could go Damien Harris's way, and that could just boost his overall floor and fantasy production. But in my opinion, what could have a bigger impact is whether they re-sign Cam Newton as the quarterback for this team. And that's because next to Damien Harris, Cam Newton essentially operated as another running back for this team. He averaged 9.1 carries per game, 2.8 red zone carries per game, and for comparison, Harris averaged an absurdly low 0.2 red zone carries per game as the lead running back for this team. Now, if they were to sign or draft a less mobile quarterback and Harris can be more of a goal line back, a red zone back for this team, that could boost his overall production, add a couple touchdowns to his resume for his 2021 season, and that could just help with some of the consistency issues that we saw from his 2020 campaign. Now, the downside of this situation, of course, is that it will continue to be a running back committee with Sony involved. But one thing I want to point out here with Sony Michel is that he didn't really receive his full opportunity after returning from injury until Damien Harris went down with an ankle injury. Before that, when both were healthy, Harris led the team, and albeit on a small sample size, he led the team in rush attempts and snaps at the running back position. So really, at his current ADP, he's going in the RB4 range. I think Harris could be a great trade target, a draft target, someone who could be just a low investment on a lower price point who you could acquire and could provide flex or even RB2 numbers for your dynasty teams in 2021 and maybe even further than that. And finally, the last running back that I want to highlight for you guys is Cam Akers, LA Rams running back, currently being drafted as the RB16 in Dynasty ADP. In my rankings, I have him as my RB10. And we know to start the year, he struggled with a rib injury, saw inconsistent playing time. It wasn't really until after their bye week, until Cam Akers received the opportunity to really lead this backfield and be the guy for Sean McVay's offense. Week 12 would be his breakout, and then from week 12 to 14, before he injured his ankle, he was actually the RB12 in PPR points per game, RB6 in opportunities per game, RB3 in rushing yards per game with 109. And what was really encouraging is that once Akers broke out, Henderson's opportunity diminished significantly. Henderson only averaged 6.3 opportunities per game to Akers' 21 in that time span. And on the season, Akers was actually the more efficient running back of the two. He averaged more yards created per touch. He averaged more evaded tackles per touch as well. And what's even more impressive with those numbers is that similar to Damien Harris, who we just talked about a few minutes ago, Akers saw the fifth highest average defenders in the box with 7.3. He saw a 35.9% stacked front carry rate, which is RB8 in the league. And for comparison, Henderson saw a stacked front on 26% of his carries. That's nearly a 10 percentage point differential compared to Akers. And so while defenders were trying to keep Akers from running the ball and being efficient on the ground, he still ran all over them. He was still very productive with his opportunities, and you love to see that from a young rookie running back. Now, unfortunately, as I mentioned, he injured his ankle in week 15, but then in the playoffs, he would be the guy once again with Henderson unavailable due to an ankle injury. Akers would average 24.5 opportunities per game, 136 yards per game, 1 touchdown per game in the playoffs. Just a great way to end a rookie season, showing that he was very, very productive when it mattered the most in the playoffs. Now, for the future, I think what we saw towards the end of the year is what we'll see going forward in 2021 and beyond. We'll see Akers operate as the lead running back with Henderson mixed in as the change of pace back. But what really excites me for the future and for this team is that Stafford is now the quarterback for the LA Rams, no longer Jared Goff. And last year, Stafford was the more productive quarterback or the more efficient quarterback compared to Jared Goff. One of the stats that always blows my mind when I see Matt Stafford's 2020 season is that his receivers dropped 84 passes last year. Despite that, compared to Jared Goff, Stafford still had a higher true completion rate, higher deep ball completion rate, higher catchable pass rate, higher adjusted yards per attempt. So he was just the better quarterback compared to Jared Goff, despite having a less talented wide receiver core. And now Stafford comes in. and he has 2 stud wide receivers in Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp. I believe he can elevate this offense, and that will only help Akers and just give him more opportunities and help him be more efficient in this offense going forward. And so I do believe Akers will be the lead running back. I think he's a key piece to this offense. It will be heavily, heavily involved for the foreseeable future, and that's why I have him ranked as my RB10 in Dynasty. All right, so that wraps up video number 2 of my Dynasty Rankings versus ADP series. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm excited to dive into quarterbacks and tight ends next, so be on the lookout for that video in the coming weeks. But until then, Nerd Herd, subscribe, hit that notification bell to stay up to date for all of our content as we help you guys prepare for the 2021 Dynasty season.